Alright guys, I'm making this quick video for one main reason. I have seen the biggest spike in my conversion rate over the past 3 weeks, and it might be because of the Black Friday offer, but generally I've done a lot of changes to my store and to my accounts, as well as my style of creating content. So I have to give credit to all of these factors which has contributed into this big change in my conversion rate. So if you've seen my bootcamp, I have over 30 days of my bootcamp which is dedicated about this. I have mentioned a lot of these factors, but today is going to be more of an update of what I've done over the past month, because I haven't been updating you guys. I've been a bit inactive because this is the best month so far, and it's very exciting. The next few days, we have like 7 more days to the month, so hopefully we're gonna break our previous records. So let's get to the video. It's about conversion rate, how I have went from, when I first started running this product, again, I've generated more than 200 million views for this specific product. A lot of people can relate. If you do enough product research and you see which products have gained such numbers and has still been running till this day, then you'll probably find me. But for now, I can't review the product. So when I got these numbers on IG, for example, I did not have the best conversion rate, obviously. So how did I go from that point where it was 0.x conversion rate all the way to now, literally the past few weeks, I've been averaging all the way from 0.7 to 1% conversion rate organically. Guys, you need to understand, this is organic branded dropshipping. And this CVR right here is what's gonna get you over 20k per month. So this is what you want. So that's what I'm about to share. I'm just gonna give you a quick update on what I've done. And it's gonna be a quick one because I need to record for my product after this. So the first thing which I've done was the offer. I've spoken with a lot of people. I've done a lot of benchmarking. I've checked all the competitors, whether it's in my niche or different niches. Let's call it the calendar of how all of these offers have happened was 1st of November, everyone went for early Black Friday. 14th of November, everyone went for Black Friday. And this is where the problem is. When you set Black Friday offer at such an early day, this is literally 2 weeks before the actual Black Friday offer is. The problem is a lot of people are creating these fake FOMO offers, which are just pushing customers away. And how do I know? Because I've tested it myself. I've done this sacrifice. I've tested these offers for a few days, and they didn't pay off. So literally for the first few days of this, like 14th of Black Friday, I've tested a few offers, aka I'm gonna tell you so that you avoid them. Okay, so you don't want to do anything which says Black Friday ends now, for example, or ends in 8 hours. You don't want to do that. First of all, it's not believable. Okay, now we're getting closer. That's the problem. By the time I'm making this video, it's 24th of November. We're getting closer to Black Friday, but we've seen people do this since the 14th of Black Friday, and it's a big mistake. I've tried it, didn't work out. Even from now, if you watch this literally right now, you could still avoid this, because what you should do is something else. You could either call it Black Friday early access, so that's one, or you could say early sale. Okay, so I'll leave that for you to say, early access or sale. And guess what? I've tried this again. It didn't perform the best, but I would rather have this over that. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna put this in red. You don't want to go for that. Only on the actual Black Friday you could put that offer, and then you're gonna see a spike in your conversion rate because it's believable. But then for this one, you could do it if you want a timer. Otherwise, do what I'm doing, which is literally no timer as of right now. Guys, I'm telling you, I've tested this for literally a week. I've added the Black Friday early sale. I've tried the early access, nothing worked. But the moment I removed it, I created FOMO in different ways, such as the stock and just like the overall funnel. So I have a lot of stories. I have, obviously, I say limited stock in the story. They go to my store and then they see a lot of red dots. So obviously, that's FOMO. One thing which I wanted to say about this, yeah, the banners. So in the banner as well, you could create this. So you could actually mention this, the early sale, in the banner, but I wouldn't put a timer, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So hope that's clear. That's regarding the timer, okay? I don't want to go off topic much, but this is the timer. Next. Let's start with what to avoid. So no timers, don't make it look unbelievable. Okay, try to make it seem as genuine as possible, which is creating FOMO with limited stock, making it clear that it's gonna restock. That's the point I finally remembered. The point was try to make it clear that it's gonna restock after Black Friday. That's the one thing which I've not seen anyone do, but I've done. So you could say restocks 29th of November. That way, you make it clear that if you don't buy now, then you're going to miss out because it's going to restock after the offer. So that's a smart way to do it. Next thing is the offer. So now we've spoken about the timer. Next is the offer. So obviously I use Kaching. I've spoken about this in the past. It's by far one of the biggest contributors to my high CVR. Not sponsored with anything here, but it's just based off pure experience. Why is this the best? It's just an easy to navigate through offer. So it's a built-in one. So what do you want to look for? There's a few examples which I'm going to give here. I would say split test. Check which one works for best for you. Personally, I've tried to make, first of all, for the longest time I've had buy one or buy two. But I've actually sacrificed another few days. So literally the past few weeks, I've been split testing by sacrificing a day or two for every offer to see which one performs the best. And what do I lose? I lose like a few sales here and there, but what do I gain is either it just skyrockets my CVR or not. And I figured out that I did this risk, which is adding a third one. So 1, 2, and 3. It didn't work that well for my product, but perhaps it might work for your product. And here's what you should do. So on this one, you could say most popular, which is the usual. And then the third one, you just call it Black Friday Special. And that's where it gets interesting because you're creating this third offer purely for Black Friday. It has the biggest percentage of discount and you get to increase your AOV. And people are willing to buy this just because they will understand that, okay, this offer is just available right now because of the Black Friday offer. So you could test this if you don't have add-ons. So the other way of increasing your AOV at this time of the year is just to have a paid add-on here. So the add-on would be here for, let's say, $7 or whatever. And then here it would be 2 free or whatever. Otherwise, go for 3 of your product, and then that way you could optimize Black Friday. Now let's talk about, obviously I've spoken about how many products to add in your Kaching app. Next is how many free gifts. I've tested as well. The more gifts you add, the harder it is for them to understand. You want to make it as easy to navigate as possible because you want to imagine your customer to be someone who's not very familiar with using any sort of websites. So the easier you make your store, okay, the easier you make it for customers to go from the landing page all the way to checkout, the more you're going to convert. For that reason, try to avoid adding too many gifts. Add maybe 1 gift, maximum 2 gifts. And try to make the colors pop out. So this is like free sauce right here. I would say, let's say your theme color is red, so your banner is red, whatever. I would put this one in red, and then the other ones, not many people do this, but here's the free sauce. I would make them gray. Now, why am I mentioning this? Why do you think this is important for me to mention? Because again, we want to assume that the customer is unfamiliar with using any sort of website and they just want to purchase your product. So if they go to your product page and they see a bunch of big boxes with like a bunch of free gifts, it's just hard for them to understand what's going on. For that reason, I've realized my CVR increased when I changed the color of the unselected ones. So the unselected ones are grayed out. So now it's clear that the red one is the product, the one they've selected, and that way they could navigate between the offers easily and then ultimately checkout. Obviously, the checkout page, you could also make it red, and then this should take you all the way to checkout. Sorry, this is add to cart. Takes you all the way to checkout. I'm trying to be as specific as possible so that you guys are on the same page. So yeah, that's some really important things to say here to why my CVR has increased. Next, let's use text from now on. So here you could add, leave it for the actual Black Friday, add the timer here on Black Friday's day, which is 28th. For now, you don't need to put the timer. Instead, you could create, you could put here, for example, low stock. So there's 9 remaining. You could put it here or down here, whatever you want. I've seen a lot of people put it under the cart. So yeah, do what you want, test around. And that's for the Kaching app. Next, there's one thing which is really important I wanted to mention here. This is unfiltered. I'm straight up giving you all the sauce I know and I've done over the past few weeks. So we said, yes, got it. Next point. Guys, this next point is actually really important. I want to link the Kaching app or the offer in general. I want to link it to your your pop-up. I would say this was the biggest split test I've done this month. I have used AI Banana, AI Studio, so much to create a bunch of pop-up messages, and that was by far the biggest sacrifice I've done, or like risk, because I've noticed that whenever I'm changing something here, so whether I'm split testing the offer, I'm split testing the timer, it didn't really affect my CVR that much as the pop-up message did. And if you guys are running a product right now, I hope you take this into account. It's really important. And you'll thank me later. So for the pop-up, there's a few proven concepts right now that you could do. So I've seen, for example, the anime niche products. What they do is you could add here, I'm giving you an example. So the pop-up would be, for example, 3 options. So here you would say, which one is your favorite? And then let's say it's 3 different anime characters. Once they select, that way you know what they want. So you gain, not only do you gain your customer's email, but also you gain what they're more likely to purchase. And then they all take you to the same funnel, which is type in your email. So here's the email. And then next would be the 10% discount, or 20% or 30, whatever you want. And I'm glad I mentioned the discount because there's a few ways you could structure your discount for this Black Friday. You could either keep your price as it was pre-Black Friday, but increase your email percentage. So make it 20%, 30%, whatever you want. That's option 1. Option 2 would be just straight up reducing like a flat number from, or a percentage from all of your products. Personally, I went for this option. You could do whatever you want. I thought about split testing this, but this is a bigger risk for me to take. So I'd rather just go for the email for now. I don't want to risk my sales by changing much in my store in terms of like the prices. But this works for me, right? One of the biggest lessons which I've mentioned in the bootcamp is don't try to fix what is not broken. Trust me on this. If something's working and it's printing for you, keep it. So if it's working, keep it. If it's not, try this. Or even try to maybe reduce 10% flat price from all of your products and then provide the other 10% through the discount code. And some of the biggest brands do this, by the way. So you could do whatever you want. Why was this really important? Let me break that down. So the image by its own, okay? The image actually mattered. When I changed, first I had this original image, which I've used, and that one obviously was performing well for me. But then the big risk was for me to replace what was working in the past, right? Don't change what's not broken. So I actually changed what was already performing well to something which I thought was cooler because it was created by AI and I spent a lot of hours on it. So I was like, okay, let me test it for a few days. So after 3 days, turns out, well, I wasn't sure within the 2 to 3 days why my CVR lowered or dropped. This was like 2 weeks ago. Then I was like, you know what? Let me change back everything to how it was. But that time I started with like one step at a time. So first I changed, for example, the timer, this one. I removed the timer. That was the first change. It did get me more sales here and there. Next I changed like a few other things which didn't do much, but then I went to the pop-up message. I finally changed it back to this. And that was one of the, I changed it to the other image. So you need to find this one image which works for your product. And then the second, that's not the full part. The second part is, apart from the image, is that, okay, let me explain the image, by the way. The image has to be not complicated. It just needs to be like a background, which is pleasant to the eye. It blends nicely with the text, not too, blended, like, what's the word for it? You don't want it to look like it's hard to read. Okay, so you don't want to have like a bunch of anime characters in the background and they're affecting the text. Or even worse, you don't want to have text in the banner and then text on top. You don't want that. Keep it simple, plain, and specific to your niche or to the holiday season, and then add the text on top. That was the first point to why it worked. The second point about the pop-up message, I figured out there was a problem. So my pop-up message was showing to customers within 5 seconds. And this is a big problem. When I dropped this, okay, I dropped it instantly to 1%. So if they scroll 1% through my store, so basically just touching the store, they will get the pop-up message. I think this was the biggest reason to why I made my CVR reach 1% and higher the past few weeks. I got way more emails. By the way, how did I figure this problem? I went to my email pop-up app. I think you should do the same. I've always had it on default, which is showing me on a span of 30 days. I filtered it down to 1 day, and then I've seen that it only has been seen by half of my sessions. So I had to dig down the rabbit hole to see why was this happening. Turns out it's taking 5 seconds before the customer sees it, and this clearly means they're going to my store, they're checking the prices, they see Black Friday, but there's no discount. So they're just going out. So obviously the ones that converted in the past few months, they've been waiting more than 3 to 5 seconds. I don't know when exactly I changed this to 5 seconds, but the moment I did this, it just skyrocketed my CVR. And obviously the pop-up message was way cleaner this time. So hopefully you guys are learning something new from this, because I actually given you like the most transparent changes I've done over the past month. Let me see. Is there any final words? I think I've pretty much given you all the sauce for the day. So please take this into account, guys. If you are running a product, preferably a brandable organic product, and you've been suffering with low CVRs, one hint or one tip I'm gonna give you to close this video is I've learned whenever you see a surge in your sessions, and one tip, go to your customers list and check where the customers are being, from what country they're being subscribing from. If they are subscribing from high converting countries and you had like over 500 sessions, for example, and you didn't convert as much as you wanted to, then don't blame anything but yourself. Like, blame the site. That's what I've learned. So if you see the customers list and there's high quality leads and you're still not converting that much, that means something needs to be changed instantly. And that's how you find out whether you need to work on your store or not. Like, sometimes I would be blaming the algorithm, for example, but no, turns out it's actually about constantly split testing and making sure your store is just optimized. So yeah, this was a bit longer than I wanted to originally make, but I've given you all the sauce for the day, and hopefully you guys are taking notes. If this helped you, please let me know. And yeah, I'll be streaming sometime soon for you guys. Prepare any questions, join my Discord, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Peace out.